you.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks for the briefing. I wanted to know, you seem to be saying, in the case of ISIS or Daesh, who do you believe has influence with them if you're calling for people to somehow reach them? And does UNRWA have any contact directly either with Daesh or the al-Nusra Front? And finally, of the total population before this, where have people gone? Where are they now, to your knowledge? Are they still in UNRWA facilities, or are they elsewhere? Thank you.
Well, to begin with that point, of all of the people, and if I take the Palestine refugee community that was previously living in Yarmouk, of which there were approximately 160, 170,000, that means that you still have about 10% of the people who are inside the camp. Many have been displaced to other areas of Damascus. We have many inhabitants, former inhabitants of Yarmouk, we find in temporary shelters and accommodation, UNRWA schools, other public installations. There are some who are also inside some of our compounds. We have, of course, then a number of them who have fled, those who fled early. They went in particular also to Lebanon, where you have Palestine refugees from Syria, about 44,000. These are not all from Yarmouk, but a significant proportion from Yarmouk. So those are the main areas. So if you take the totality of the Palestine refugee community in Syria before the war, there were 560,000 Palestine refugees. We think currently there's still about 460, 470,000 inside the country. Of those, over half have been displaced by the different conflict dynamics. And there are Palestine refugee camps throughout the country in the regions of Aleppo, Deraa, but also Homs, and of course Damascus being the main point. That gives a sense, I think, of the general pattern. Then to your questions, it's really not for me to give an indication on who may channel messages sorry, on who may channel messages to the different parties, including those armed groups that are now inside Yarmouk. I think it is just important that at a political level, in the international community, the questions be asked, what are the ways to reach these actors? Who would have an influence to be able to channel it? And again, I say it across the broad political and religious spectrum that one may find in this regard. So I think this is an issue. In terms of humanitarian response, if there were a ceasefire, and obviously currently we don't have those elements in place because you've seen how sudden and significant the change has been on the ground. Obviously we have not been able to take up contacts at this point. But if there were a cessation of hostilities, if there were at one point a humanitarian truce reached, we would then have to deal with the realities on the ground and try to find the types of communications that would ensure the safe delivery of humanitarian aid.